Hello, 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 and welcome back to Women of Color in Intimate Conversation. Today's guest is speaker, counselor, coach, and best-selling author, Dr. Sharon Arrindell. Dr. Sharon, tell the audience three things you want them to know about you.
Well, three things I want you to know about me is one, I help couples. I help couples go from roommates to romance, in case you want to know what that is. I
Yes.
also help women go from stuck to finding purpose and becoming whole. I do that through counseling and coaching. I'm a speaker. I go all over the world now. I was just saying I don't go to those cold places in the winter anymore, but if you want me in the summer, I'm there.
Right.
Um, and then I is that three? Um, I'm married to my dream guy, and combined we have 5 children and 10 grandchildren, with one on the way to make it 11.
Wow, very nice, very nice. And I love that to your dream husband. So we'll definitely get into that. So the podcast is focused on women of color and empowering us to live our dream lives. And so, of course, enjoying marriage, getting unstuck, those are definitely two ways for us to live dream lives. So let's just kind of talk about the helping couples get to enjoyment in marriage. Like, what brought you to that? Like, what happened for you to say, you know what? One, maybe personally, I need to start enjoying a marriage, and or two, let me help other people enjoy their marriages.
Well, I've had some hiccups with marriage. I was married to who I thought originally was the person that I was supposed to marry. He was a leader in the church and all the things. And we were married for 13 years, had 2 children, but something happened and he just didn't want to be married anymore. I mean, a lot happened. A lot happened. A lot happens for you to get to that point. And I don't want to belabor that because that's all in the past. It happened in 2002 was when it all, just fell apart, lost everything I owned, all the things. But in after that, I realized that I needed some help because I had 2 children. I'm a single mom. I was crying all the time, hitting the floor like I was crazy in a fetal position. And my pastor reached out and started counseling with me. Someone was counseling with my children. And at the time, I was a fashion designer. So I had no aspirations to do any of what I'm doing right now.
Mm.
But, I had a store that it was killing me. It was killing me trying to run it by myself. And one day, my pastor said to me, "You have to let it go." And with tears and everything, I said, let it go and go away. And his wife said, "Go back to school." And I said, "No, ma'am, I'm a college dropout. We don't drop out and drop back in." So that's not going to happen. But eventually I did. So as a result of that, I went back to school to be a teacher and ended up in a counseling course that just blew my mind.
Mm.
And after that course, I decided that's the route I wanted to take. And I've been a counselor now in one way, shape, or form for almost 18 years. But in recent years, I realized I used to think I didn't have anything to offer as far as couples because I didn't do well.
Yeah.
But God intervened and said, "Go for it." And he didn't do it, I'm not saying he came in front of me and spoke to me. It wasn't like that. I was doing my first doctoral degree, and to get the degree, you had to answer one question, and they gave you 5 hours. You had to get a proctor. And my one question was, of all the questions there could be, what would you say to a couple that was about to get married and why? And it changed my future. I said, I groaned for 5 hours talking about how to help a couple from before they even get married. And after that, it just stuck with me. And about 3, 4 years ago, I realized most of my clients were couples, even though I wasn't calling myself a couples counselor. They just kept coming. And
Mhm.
then I just switched gears and started helping because I realized, I am behind the walls of church a lot. So I get to see the dynamics. And so I realized a lot of those couples were living as roommates.
Mm.
When they leave church, they go home, but they're not living like couples. And so this mantra came from roommates to romance again. And so that's been my thing, helping couples make it back to romance.
I love that. So basically, it came to you to work
Hmm.
with couples, and then
Yes.
it just kept happening. And then you realize, wait a minute, I so keep working with couples. And so let me pay attention to this and really
Hmm.
dig into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did your work, do you feel that your work prepared you for your current marriage, for your dream husband?
Um, my dream, my dream husband. Okay. Let's talk about him. Um, I used to work with his wife, his
Okay.
former wife, in ministry, and she passed away
Mm.
in 2011 in her sleep. We were planning something. Somebody called and said she was gone. What? No, we just talked last night. No, no, no. Well, that was 2011. And fast forward to 2019, I walked into a Home Depot and I saw him in the line. I did not look my best on that day. I was painting my house and most of the paint was on me. So I saw him and I kept saying, should I say hello or just walk away? But I tapped him on the shoulder. I couldn't even remember his name, but I remembered her. And I
Right.
said her name and said, her husband, you're her husband? He said, you can't even remember my name. I said, no. And we just started having a normal conversation. It was just a normal conversation. We would just talk when we saw each other, call sometimes. I was fixing up my house because I was moving back into my home. And he would come and put up the curtains, paint the wall, do all the things. And then COVID came
Mm.
2020, and he was on his way to Trinidad, which is where he's from. And he's getting on the plane and he texts me and says, I'm getting ready to go to Trinidad. I don't like texting, but I'll try to text you while I'm there. And I said, oh, okay. And then another message came and said, what about us?
Mm.
But he wrote it in uppercase US. So I thought because of COVID, he meant US. What
Yeah.
about the United States? And I'm like, yeah, we're in big trouble. I'm sitting here because I used to be a school counselor then. I'm sitting here and they're locking down schools and blah. And he,
He's like, what are you talking about?
wait, I meant us, you and me. I said, you and me, there is no you and me. And he said, yeah, we've been talking for a while. I said, oh, I didn't realize we were dating. We were just,
Right, right.
hanging out. And then when, they shut down Trinidad, so he had to get out of there.
Mm.
And he came back and we met at a park. There was nobody in the park. There was nobody anywhere. People are social distancing, and there we're standing. And that was the beginning of a 49-day dating experience.
Mm.
And after 49 days, he said, let's get married. And at first, I was stuck because, I didn't feel like, even though I've helped a lot of couples, I didn't feel like I would make a good couple. So
Mhm.
he literally had to talk me into that. But we've been married almost 5 years, and our families have come together and combined. When we got married, there was nobody really at our wedding because of COVID, but it's been a good ride with a
Oh,
good man that God brought for me because, you know, it the story is long, so I don't get into all the details of
right.
it, because in between my children's father and him, there was somebody as well that I wasn't supposed to marry. And I did. That was a big mistake. He ended up in jail, all the things, all the craziness that could happen in a life happened. So for me, it was no, you understand marriage because you were married for 31 years. I have no clue. All
Yeah,
I know is my parents were married for 46 years. That's what I've been looking for. That's not in it for me now. I'm 60. But we ended up getting married. It's been 5 years of craziness. He makes me laugh. He makes me laugh all the time. He supports every single thing that I do, even when it does not make sense. He supports. So he's a dream.
that's wonderful. So there's hope, right? You mentioned, you were 60 at the time and you've been together. So there's definitely hope after going through, down different roads and I would say going down the roads that you were meant to go through to be
Mhm.
able to be where you are today. And that's something that I want those that are listening or watching to know that our experiences, they do shape us, right?
Yeah.
And we are who we are as a result of those experiences. So it's not about regretting, it's about recognizing that though you went down that path and it helped you to be who you are today. Could have been one to whereas okay, I definitely don't want to repeat that, right? Lessons for yourself, lessons for other
Mhm.
people, but it was intended for you, to experience the things you experienced. So I want to kind of really get into the getting from stuck to vision, so helping women to get unstuck. So let's talk about that.
Woman, woman, we get stuck, you know. Like I said, I was one of them stuck on the floor in a fetal position about a person who bleeds red just like me, um, feeling like there was no hope for my future until today I call her my spiritual mom. She, I had to live in her home because we had lost everything. And she came down the stairs and she said, I hear you crying all the time, but you're not going to die on my watch. I'm giving you 24 hours to come up with a plan for the rest of your life. I'm going to take your children upstairs. And when I come back tomorrow, you have to tell me after 24 hours. I've been on this ride for a year and you need me to tell you this in 24 hours. She said, yeah, you do. And I picked up a piece of paper. I think it was a receipt. And I started writing everything that was happening to me. I couldn't even read it. It was just tears everywhere. But I just kept writing and writing and writing and writing. When she came down the stairs the next day, I said, well, I've decided to go back to school. Okay, so what are you going for? Not sure yet, but I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm going back to school. And that those pieces of papers became journals
Mm,
and then books. I've written 9 of them so far. They've become books about, a couple of them are about my story. And at the end of it, you realize it wasn't about you at all.
yeah.
It was about the people that you're going to help. And most of those people have become women. And I get to tell them to rise from the ashes. And because if there's ashes, that means something got burnt, but you are the only one that can do it. She could have come down those stairs, told me all of that. I didn't have to listen. I could have just kept on getting back into stuck, but I listened and I moved forward. And at the end of the day, it changed my entire future, changed my entire life. School became therapy. Obviously, I kept going and
Yeah.
going and going like I was a crazy person. No longer going though, but now I get to tell other women, get up and do something. Get up and do something. I the all I could do is give you the tools. Her tools, she did it in a different way. My tools, my counseling or my coaching tools, I'm giving you them, but you're the one that has to pick up the tools and start rebuilding your life all over. For some people like me, it's rebuilding all over again. And so that's what I do. And I do it with a vengeance, and I get excited when I see a woman walk away whole and well. I get excited.
Yeah, and so so the themes that I'm picking up that you've shared, faith over and over. So without a doubt, you lean into your faith, right? And you surround
Yeah,
yourself with people who are also faithful people. Couple other
yeah.
things, help and let go. And you talked about how the first divorce, it was 2002 and you asked for help. And I'm listening to that and I'm thinking, wow, people weren't asking for help back then, right? I mean, they're barely asking for help today. So for
Mhm.
you to have done that then is
Courage,
awesome, right?
courage.
It's huge. It's huge that you said, you know what, I need help. And
Mhm,
we need to do that more. We need to ask for help more and allow
mhm,
people to help us. So those who are watching or listening, ask for help, right? And
mhm,
then also let things go. My hairdresser last week was telling me about I forget who the person is, but he heard on a podcast someone was talking about, I think they wrote a book or they were talking about let them be. And it was about people just letting them be who they are and do what they do, right? And don't get so caught up and don't get all upset and hold on to it because they're not the way you want them to be. And
mhm,
so, like what you're saying, let it go. And those are some of the things we have to let go. We have to
mhm,
let go of the life we thought we were going to have. We have to let go of how we thought a relationship was going to continue. We have to
mhm,
let go of how, we want people to be and just recognize how things are. And if
mhm,
it's regarding ourselves, if you want your life to be differently, pause,
mhm,
get unstuck,
mhm.
get a vision, and then put in the work to make those things happen for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a talk that I do called Unwrapping the Gift of Setbacks,
Mm.
right? And in order for the setback to become a comeback, you got to unwrap it. And you got to literally look at it. This past Christmas, my granddaughter was opening all her gifts, and you could tell when she didn't like one, she would throw it to the side. Yes, I love this one.
Eh,
So we get these gifts and we want to return them because it doesn't feel good. Like, I don't like that one. But in most cases, that's the one you need to
yeah,
unwrap because that's the one that's going to change your life forever. And if you leave it wrapped and don't want to touch it, you will miss out on a whole lot of things down the road.
absolutely. And you know what? And so, really, that one gift that you don't want, that you should probably open, it's probably a gift that continues to give.
To give.
Right? Because
Yeah.
like you said, you unwrap that leads you to this, which leads you to that, and then over there, and
Mm-hmm.
continuing, right? And continuing in that forward motion. Like
Yeah,
you continue to be in motion as opposed to being stuck, right? Those
that's
other
right.
gifts that you want, they're going to keep you where you've been,
Yes.
right?
Yes. And I'm sitting here with you, and I've done a lot of these. I would have never been able to do any of this without some kind of story.
Right?
Everybody has a story, and most people don't want anybody to know, which is why they don't like people like counselors and therapists and coaches. Oh, I'm good. I hear that a lot.
Right,
Even
right.
people who literally make their way to me, and at the first session, I go, "How are you doing?" "I'm good." I'm like,
Mm,
"No, you're not, because you wouldn't be here with
right,
with
right.
me."
And it's okay.
It's okay.
It's
It's okay to
okay.
not be good. You
As a matter of
know?
fact, congratulate yourself, right? Because you're investing in yourself.
Yeah, because when your back is against the wall, there's only one way to go, is forward,
Yeah.
because there's no more left behind the wall. So, that is what I do, and I enjoy what I do, enjoy my work. I don't get paid enough, but I do enjoy my work. I enjoy it a lot. And especially the part where I get to speak, because when I speak, it's more of a connection.
Mhm.
You get to connect with people. So, oh, she's a real person. It's not
Right.
just that whole DR doctor thing making you intimidated. Don't buy it. It took a lot to do it, and I am proud of that. But that is not who I am. I am Sharon Arrindell, and I like that girl. I like that girl.
I love that. So let's talk more about speaking. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who happens to be a speaker as well. And as a matter of fact, over the summer, she quit her corporate job to pursue
Mm,
her speaking business. And she was just saying how, there's not a lot of Black women speakers. There's not a lot of, Black women who even realize that they could get paid to speak. And I
mm,
see that you're part of a speakers bureau, Global Women Speakers. So tell us about that. Let's talk to us, about that experience. If there was a woman who was like, you know what, I love to speak, use my voice, all of those things, like how you say you like talking and person making it personal. Um, what would you tell that woman? Like, what are some of the things that she should do? And then tell us about your experience as a speaker.
Um, you know, getting a coach is really helpful. I've been speaking for a long time because of the fact, like I said, I spend a lot of time behind the walls of church, and I'm actually a pastor, but I'm not the senior pastor. So I'm on the board, and sometimes, they ask you to speak. They don't pay you, but they
Mhm.
ask you to speak. And what that does is it gives me practice. I get
Yes.
to practice. And I've been practicing for a lot of years before I even realized there is such a thing as getting paid to do this. Getting
Mhm.
paid. Really? I get paid just to open my mouth?
Yeah.
So for a long time, I did a lot of freebies, and I still do them because I work with people's budget, and that's the thing. um I people a lot of times come and they charge so much money that by the time they leave the event, you have no money. So from noticing all of that, I just work with the budget of, I don't, especially when it's outside church, I work with whoever is asking. I always ask, what is your budget,
Mhm.
And if it doesn't comply with my thing, we come up with something together. Come up with something together. Okay, so you're paying me half of what I usually receive, but at the end of that, can I sell my books? Can I talk about what I do as a counselor, as a coach, so that everybody is happy at
Yeah.
the end of. So if you're that woman that feels like you're a speaker, then speak. Don't keep it to yourself. And when I started with Global Women Speakers, for instance, I got a message on Facebook saying, we want you to speak in Paris.
Mm.
And I said to my husband, this is a scam. This can't be real, because who knows me?
Yeah.
He said, well, you've been on this social thing for a while now. So, you know, and because he's former military, he said, Paris is really nice. So if you go and it's a scam, just enjoy Paris.
Yeah.
Think about it like that. Well, I had to pay my own plane fare and do all the things, stayed in a hotel, and it was a real conference with about 200 women.
Mm.
And I got up to speak, and I have an assistant, and I said, Claudette, what are we doing here? She said, girl, we working.
Right.
And, I did not actually get somebody giving me a check in my hand, but I ended up with the person who is the in charge of Global Women Speakers. And I didn't even know who that was at the
Mm.
time. She was just sitting out there with all the women on her laptop. And I'm thinking, oh, she's just taking notes. But she was taking note of who I was and what I was doing and invited me to be a part of Global Women Speakers. And as a result, I've spoken in a few places like that. Um, Not always physical. I've gone to Spain, virtual, Pakistan, all these places on a sometimes virtual, sometimes in person. I'm about to go to Miami. I'm about to go to Mexico. All these places, and they don't always physically pay you. And
Yeah.
sometimes you even have to invest. But think of it as an investment in yourself
Absolutely.
because you never know who you're going to meet. Never know who you're going to meet. Now, that woman's phone number is on speed dial on my phone. We talk to each other all the time. If she sees something out there that she thinks is a good fit, she will invite me. And sometimes I can go, sometimes I cannot. But you can't just start out going, I'm a speaker, pay me this.
Yeah.
Because there's so many speakers out there now. I don't even know where they came from. Since COVID, everybody's become a speaker. Like, I didn't even know this thing was so big. And so you're not going to get it like that. And I'm not only a part of that, I've been a part of Speaker Hub and different platforms where you could find me. And now I even have my own platform, drsharonarrindell.com/booking. And you get to just book me and work with me with the budget that you have. So, and all that took a long time. It's not going to happen overnight. You got to put in the work. Got to
So
put in.
basically that Paris experience was a gift that you didn't want to open that you ended up opening. And,
No,
as I said, it continues to give back, right? Because
yeah,
a woman saw you, she saw you in action, and then she's like, okay, this is somebody that I want as part of my bureau. And so from that relationship, you're getting different opportunities because you
absolutely.
said yes, because you opened that
Yeah.
present that initially you didn't want to.
And that's the word right there. Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Yes. Just say yes.
Yes.
And a lot of doors open based on yes. Um, and some of the places are not. When I spoke to the people in Pakistan, that was a missions thing.
Hmm.
And she thought I was a good fit. And I just went on Zoom and talked to all these people in Pakistan. They needed an interpreter. And I'm going to myself, how did I get here?
Right.
Because I said yes. Because I
Right,
said,
absolutely. And what? So Richard Branson is the CEO, founder of Virgin Atlantic Airlines and other things Virgin. And he had a saying that I actually have lived by. And I'm going to just paraphrase it. It's like say yes and then figure it out. So when an opportunity presents itself, say yes and then figure it out. So that is something that I definitely lived by. I still do live by it. I do, kind of moderate it because I'm not going to say yes to everything. It does
no.
have to make sense, right?
Mm,
And
yeah.
And when you were saying how, you do some speaking engagements where you're not getting paid, when you have, whether you're getting paid or not, you still want to have some intentionality around it. It's like, so
Mhm.
if you're going to that place, if you're doing that thing, what would you like to experience? So you want to get clear about that, right? So kind of like with the vision, what is your vision of participating in this particular event?
Yeah,
And then, right? And so that way, that is part of the compensation, if you will.
yeah,
So whether you're
yeah.
getting paid or not, you still are, either you wanted to meet three people. And so you met those three people, or you
Networking,
wanted, yeah,
networking.
absolutely. Or you wanted to do this, you wanted to do that.
Mhm.
But when you're saying yes to things, have some intentionality around it
Personality.
so that you get the most out of it.
Yeah, especially on social media, because there are so many crazy things,
Mhm.
out there. Um, and, you know, even my hairstyle, you know, has become a thing. Um, and I'm like, how did my head become a thing? I mean, I had a head full of hair, and between the stress and alopecia and all of it, my hair just, and people used to say, well, why don't you wear a wig? I said, it just feels not right.
Yeah.
But now people know me as that, the bald headed woman, and no, that's who we're talking about. I literally stand out now when I go to places. Um, if I cover my head with a hat and
We'll
people
know
don't
you.
realize it's me, they don't even talk to me. So all the things, I guess what I'm trying to say is all the things, this too was one of those gifts that you didn't
Hmm.
want to unwrap.
Hmm.
You cried over it, a lot of tears over it. But then once you unwrapped it and people said, oh, that's a nice haircut. I'm like, what? Wait, do you think I literally just stood in front of the mirror and shaved off my head? No, it happened and I embraced it. And now it's a style.
Hmm.
This was 2006. Now it's a style,
Oh, yeah.
And so you gotta, you know, especially women, we get in that funk, and don't stop watching all the other women and what they're doing and wondering, why couldn't that be me? Just show up as you.
Yeah.
You got to find out who you are and show up as you, authentically you.
Mm-hmm.
And people, the right people, will come to you. You don't have to do any craziness. I have not done any craziness. I do not compromise who I am for anybody. And so that's a part of it as well. Don't compromise.
Hmm.
Just show up as you, whoever that person is, show up as who God made you to be. And you will be surprised at the amount of people that will, I don't even know how I got here. Like you just reach out and say, oh, let me just reach out. I've reached out to so many places
Right.
that sometimes when the response comes, sometimes so long after, I don't even remember who it was.
Right.
But that's that's what you have to do in order to get to the real you, and in order to help people. It's a
Absolutely.
service. My speaking is a service. I don't just stand up and talk for nothing. My speaking is a service. I come to serve. And when I'm done, the hope is that people be whole. That's what I do. Whether it's a leadership conference, a Christian conference, a woman's this, a marriage this, at the end of the day, I come to serve.
And, going back to let it go. So, just now when you were talking and about, that's something that we have to come to terms with. Like sometimes we try to force ourselves into things. And the more that we're forcing and pushing ourselves into something, we're being kept from something else
Mhm.
because we're giving our energy to that thing, and you have to just let it go. And it's something that I'm actually currently dealing with. I'm a type of person who's an and. So it's like, okay, I'm going to pursue this and do this. So I'm not going to wait on this thing before I move on to something else.
Mhm.
I'm going to do them both simultaneously. However, there was a thing that I was pursuing, was supposed to be a part of, and the communication from day one was just not on par at all. And then it got to the point where having conversations with the people, and I'm like, okay, cool. I want to help you all to build and grow what you're doing. And I understand that you have a lack of support. So cool, I'm fine with that. But now it's been like a month or however long, and now I'm reaching out to say, okay, what's going on? And I'm not getting anything in return. And so the next day I saw something on LinkedIn, and I forget exactly what it was, but it was to the extent of like, don't beg to be a part of something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a two-part, but that's the thing that stands out. And I'm like, you know what? That was my message. It's like, because I'm like, at this point, I feel like I'm begging to help you out. You
Mm-hmm.
need it. I can help with no problem with my eyes closed. However, it's not supposed to happen, or it's not supposed to happen just now. And
Mm-hmm.
so I need to let it go and move on. Like I said, it's not stopping me from doing anything. It is, or has been getting energy, but it's for me to be definitive to say, you know what? This thing is not for me. I'm going to let that thing go. And so that's going to open up so much more when
Mm-hmm.
I just mentally let that thing go. And so that's where I'm at. And that's why it's important to let things go. But before
Yeah.
we wrap, Dr. Sharon, what would you like to leave the audience with?
Uh, mm, there's so many things. Well, if you're listening, I'm thinking most of these people are women. So if you're listening, I would like you to know that there is something waiting for you. Um, you have this gift that you haven't unwrapped. So I would give you an assignment to sit with the gift, whatever it is, whatever that setback is, sit with it, and figure out how to unwrap it. And when I talk about this, I always go back to my countryman. I'm from Jamaica, Usain Bolt. And the first time he came out, strong and ready, and he had a false start for his race, and he was disqualified. Disqualified. But for yeah, my countryman Usain Bolt, and he had that false start. I don't remember what year that was, but 4 years later, I can only imagine what he was doing in between then and the next time he would show up, because he had to pick up that thing, unwrap that thing. And if you watch it, you could see that his whole mental state went crazy. It's like he wanted to jump. He took off his shirt. He did all kinds of craziness right in front of the public, because that's how he was feeling. He let all of his feelings out on that track. But he came back with a vengeance. And today, we know who he is today. I mean, he went on to be one of the fastest runners of his time ever. And that required a lot of things. The other day, I saw where he was purchasing a beautiful home for his mom. And I said, look at that. A setback truly became a comeback in a big, big way. So pick up your gift, unwrap it, and let it become a comeback for you, like it did for him and like it did for me.
I love that. Dr. Sharon Arrindell, thank you so much for lending your voice to women of color in intimate conversation, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for having me. Bye bye.
You're welcome.